ice so smooth. If you messin' me, you messin' with the goals. Pucks in deep 5-hole, then we sully. Hockey with the boys and we trip like Letter Kenny. With dollar bills, we got the loonies. Paul and Braydon, a couple beauties. Gloves coming off if you wanna tangle, or I can hit you with the Dirty Dangles. Yeah, this is Dirty Dangles.
What is up, Dirty Danglers? That there was Kairos. That's K-A-I-R-O-S, the best from the west side of Kelowna. It's your boy getting us hyped for episode 1 of Dirty Freaking Dangles, boys. My name's Paul. To my right is Braydon. Braydon, say hello.
What's going on, guys?
Choo-choo.
So, Paul, tell us, what is it to be a dirty dangler?
Oh, well, boys and girls. Dirty Dangles is all about going team white, wearing your old junior away jerseys so people know you're nuts.
Dirty Dangles is also about missing the net and missing out at the bar.
It is. Dirty Dangles is also scoring on the net and scoring at the bar.
Dirty Dangles is staying on the dance floor for the Shania to Pitbull transition just like Paul.
But hey, Dirty Dangles is all about trying, just like Braydon when he two-steps.
Hey, but I'm a hell of a two-stepper.
Fishing in the dark.
There we
go. All right, Dirty Dangles is waking up top of the hour to watch Sportsnet.
Dirty Dangles is also watching Sportsnet for the third time over.
So yeah, that's Dirty Dangles. That's our core values. That's intrinsically what makes us the Dirty Dangles podcast. And we'd hope that you'd share those beliefs. And you know what? We really want to build a brand. And yeah, that's Dirty Dangles. So Braydon, episode 1, what are some talking points that we want to get across today?
I think before we go into that, I think we should tell the listeners a little bit about ourselves. Paul and I are big hockey guys. We love talking about hockey.
Big time hockey guy.
So we were just craving the chance to make a podcast, and now that we finally have done it, we're just so ecstatic, and we want to talk about the thing that we love to talk about the most. So, for the first podcast, the big talking point is that we like to talk about the Vancouver Canucks a lot.
Canucks.
And so I think for right now, I think that would be a good starting point for the first, for part of the first episode.
Yeah, so right now, you have a team that's doing so good right now. They're in the mix, they're in the race. They're not in the wild card at the moment, but they're in the mix.
Yeah, so Paul, what are you thinking? Like, what is their biggest issue right now?
Well, the Canucks, they have depth scoring, but as of now, their defense is lacking because a lot of teams are infiltrating them on the forecheck, and that's kind of the new game plan. Is if you forecheck hard, and you pin them in their own zone, those defensemen can't handle their corners.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, looking at their defense, other than Goodbranson, they're just so small.
Yep.
I don't know. Like Edler for me is like you. I know off the podcast you keep saying that Edler is their best defenseman, and I agree to a certain extent. But for me, Tanev has been that go-to guy. It's just
Tanev's been inconsistent this year, dude.
I get it, but he could have fetched you that high-end draft pick towards last year during the draft. So I don't know why they didn't pull the trigger on that, even though they're having a great season so far.
Dude, they don't have right shot guys, especially
matter.
one of the caliber of Tanev, who's a defensive defenseman, and you got some high-end prospects like Yul Levy and Quinn Hughes coming in. They're very offensive. They need to play with safe players like that. Like who else do you have to play with them? Like Goodbranson, the coach isn't even trusting him playing with like guys like Pouliot or anybody right now.
But shouldn't this be kind of like a rebuild kind of thing? Don't you think?
Well, see, that's the thing about the Canucks is what is it? Is it a rebuild? Is it a retool? Well, they're winning right now, so obviously maybe it is what it is. It's just an on-the-fly rebuild.
But it's such an awkward-looking team if you look at it. I feel like even if they're on the brink of making the playoffs, I think it's such a bad move because we're getting pretty close to the trade deadline. And honestly, being a fan of the Canucks, I feel like that we're getting to a really scary point because should we trade some assets to get this guy to make us push into the playoffs? I don't think so. I think it's a waste of an asset that we could use later on. Because I don't think I think the Canucks are going to be a first round out.
Are you talking about Edler?
What do you mean?
When you talk about assets that we're going to give up that are going to expire.
Yeah, you can talk about Edler. I think you should try to give up Tanev. I think you get a lot for Tanev.
I mean, Tanev's got another year in his contract, though, right?
Yeah,
you got to remember that.
But that's what makes him valuable.
We see him playing with our younger guys next year, and like I believe that Toronto last year the draft was willing to offer a first round pick for Tanev. I still don't think that's enough. To me, Tanev has value because of his term.
Well, no, I mean obviously.
There's a team that can compete next year for a playoff spot, and what do playoff teams need is top 4 D-men, especially right shot top 4 D-men. So it just doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I feel like I disagree to a point. I just feel like there's value there. Like you said, he has another year left on his contract.
There is value, but like, does it fit our system? Because another thing is what differentiates Vancouver from other organizations is we're rebuilding with veterans to kind of show the young guys how to play, right? And that's why we sign guys like Roussel, Jay Beagle. These guys are like, I would say, premier players for their positions as role players. And they can help teach the younger guys.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like we're kind of past that because the ideal guys that have that veteran presence there was the Sedins. And I think they kind of missed that, and they're trying to get these other guys like Roussel and Beagle in the lineup so they can kind of help. But Roussel and Beagle, they're in the first year of the deal. Like, this is the first time in Vancouver. So right. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they missed that time with the Sedins there.
But the Sedins, you got to remember, is last year they had a ton of offensive faceoffs. They were, I believe, they were minus players. Travis Green used them in certain roles, and this year he had much more flexibility through the whole lineup because they were gone. Even though they're like staples on our power play,
Yeah, but going off of what you just said was, like, if you bring in guys like a Beagle and Roussel.
Yeah.
How do you think Pederson is going to look up to a guy like those?
No, but hey, I'll tell you right now, Roussel, I kind of question that signing. First off, the signings that the Canucks made, they weren't Benning signings. In my mind, they were owner signings. Because Benning went straight to the owner with the contract. And it's definitely a flawed way of doing things. And I am, scared of this offseason if, some of these assets prove to be good pickups. If Aquilini thinks, hey, I've done it before, I can offer more contracts in the future where I just give them what they want. But getting back to your point, listen, Roussel, his game, guys have took a note like Brock Boeser. I haven't seen Brock Boeser forecheck so much, last year. This year, he's really looked up to a guy like Roussel, I think.
I mean, I don't see that personally. I get it that he is forechecking a lot more. But
he's a grindy player now, like compared to last year.
Yeah, I guess so. But the thing with Boeser is, I guess you could say that because he has been playing a lot better when he's been playing with Pederson. He's getting more to the net. He's taking those better shots, and he's scoring. So I get your point there. I mean, having a guy like Roussel, I think it kind of shadows, or not shadows. I guess it helps alleviate the pressure away from Boeser, so he's not getting so much attack.
No, I definitely get what you're saying. What I'm thinking though is, Pederson's kind of offered that new wave of talent that, in a locker room you look up to certain players, right? And I think talent wise the whole team's looking up to Pederson, and physicality wise they're looking up to guys like Roussel that play that hard, grindy game. Like, I'll give you an example of a guy that kind of has been noted a little less because of his play is Goldobin. Like, Goldobin, I was telling you this earlier. He's a perimeter player. He doesn't go to the net. Right. He doesn't play in the dirty areas. And those are traits that Travis Green wanted to employ. And that's why a lot of people thought Travis Green was part of those offseason signings, because that's the team he wanted. Because right now is a transition state, but he wants to know, who can I win with tomorrow? Like, is a guy like Goldobin who plays on the perimeter, is he going to be part of this fold when we're really contending in 3 years?
Oh, I doubt it, because there's so many guys in the farm right now. You got guys like Gadjevich who could fill that role. There's other guys in the farm who can come up and just just be that presence.
Well,
and play a better role.
Why don't we talk about some of those guys that we can see taking on a bigger role in this team that kind of fit that mold that Travis Green likes?
Like
Adam Gaudette. Travis Green has loved his game. I'm not sure.
Why is he in the lineup then?
Yeah, well, he got sent down because of like roster situations. Like Sven Barchi was back in the lineup. You know, this is a team that has a ton of one-way deals now. Now that a lot of guys are off the IR, it just kind of forces roster spots, which is another scare of, you know, whether or not Aquilini is going to go to free agency this offseason and splurge again.
Well, there's too many spots. Like, I get the competition side of things at the beginning of the season, but you sign too many guys to these one-way deals that it kind of limits the other options to having the younger guys come up. I get it, the competition's there, but it just wasn't worth it because you had guys like Gadjevich or some other guys from the farm. I can't think of any names right now, but they were trying to push for those spots. And
well, okay, that's like where I disagree.
But Tim Schaller, what kind of a signing was that?
Okay, well, there's a guy that kind of fit the Boston mold as a tough fourth line, third line player, plays the wing, you know, can play the penalty kill, but he was still unproven. So that signing, giving him 2 years, obviously, you know, wasn't a good idea.
Do you think that he signed there, or am I thinking a little bit too differently? Because like, did he sign there, or did Benning sign him because Benning was in Boston? Was he?
No, he wasn't there at the time that Benning was there. But
sure.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I think Benning, he saw the Boston template as, you know, Travis Green, also a former Boston Bruin. He wants that physical team that can skate, you know, and that's kind of what a lot of NHL teams are kind of trending towards. But what you were mentioning earlier is giving a chance to AHL guys. You know, the Canucks saw that there's nobody really they can give a chance to this year. You know, and I'm looking at the AHL stats right now. The only notables that could maybe get in the lineup was, I think right now, is Zach McEwen. You know, and maybe Brendan Gaunce has had a decent year and he's a good penalty killer. But, you know, for that to happen, there's a few guys that would have to come out of the lineup, you know, such as Louis Eriksson. And I know you'd like to maybe talk about that contract. That was a bad contract when it was signed.
Terrible contract.
But he's a good player now in a role.
I guess in a role, but what kind of role is that? As
Listen, he'll give you short-term offense. He'll give you streaky offense
for $6
million.
And he's a
good penalty killer.
Yeah, for $6 million, you don't need short-term offense is not worth $6 million per year.
But I'll tell you why that was a good signing in my mind. Is that was a lesson.
Well, that
was a lesson to the Canucks because when his contract comes up, we can't make another bad contract like that because we have to keep room for guys like Boeser and Pederson and whoever else comes into the fold. Maybe Tyler Madden, a guy I really like that we drafted 3rd round last year, made the World Junior team this year.
That was another guy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But don't you think having that Louis Eriksson contract towards the time where we have to re-sign Pederson is going to make an effect?
Well, yeah, but like obviously there's a different organization mindset in place when that contract was signed about 3 years ago or so.
Yeah, I guess.
So, you know, obviously people see that as a failed contract, and it is. I'm just saying that he's still an NHL player.
Fair. I mean,
and he has a role on the team.
Well, yeah. I'm not gonna don't get me wrong. He does have a nice shot. It's just the money thing was a bad thing. And so the thing also I really want to talk about was with Vancouver was the goalie situation.
Yep.
And honestly, I feel like Demko, granted he was injured, should have been up before, and he should have been contending for that number 1 spot as soon as he got up. I get the trade that we did for Nielsen. I really like that trade because as soon as I saw that, I was like, Demko's coming up. Perfect.
Yeah. He didn't earn a job in training camp. Listen, Anders Nielsen played the World Championship last year. He played outstanding. Markstrom, he was signed to some term, so obviously he was going to be your starter going in.
Right.
And I think it was a no-brainer, you know, and honestly, Demko wasn't proven enough at the AHL level, even though he thought he was. I think this is a good time for him to come out. I think he's earned it now, but I don't think he earned it like a while ago by any means.
But what was the difference between Carter Hart because Carter Hart didn't play very well in the AHL either. And they still brought him. I get it. Philadelphia had different circumstances. They needed a goalie right away. So they ended up saying, okay, well, might as well just bring Carter Hart up and see how he does. I feel like it's a different situation, and they were so high on Demko that they should have brought him up before to push for that number one as soon as he was ready to.
Carter Hart didn't really get a large sample size. He started the season pretty bad, and then he improved a lot. This is also a guy that had a great track record in Everett, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, great track record there. Played the game. Unreal. Representing Canada, the World Juniors, like, he's the next goalie.
Yeah, but Demko was the
phenom, and you got Philadelphia that doesn't have the Canucks situation at all. They didn't have any goalies. So he was their only option, which is part of the reason that Ron Hextall got canned, is because Ron Hextall wanted, from some sources I heard, he wanted Carter Hart to stay in the minors and for them to trade for another goalie.
Yeah, but
see, that's coming from a goalie. But I don't agree with that. I'm with you. I kind of think Carter Hart should be in the lineup. He won a job, and right now he's playing
That's
awesome.
not what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying that Hart should have been in the lineup. I mean, we're getting off to a different topic, but I'm just...
That's what happens here at Dirty Dangles, though.
I'm just saying Carter Hart should have stayed down and at the AHL for the rest of the season. Let him light it up. Got some experience in the NHL. That's great. Use that experience in the AHL and go. But for Vancouver, dealing Nielsen was great. As soon as that happened, he should have brought up, and he did, and it was a smart move. And now it's his time to shine. It's for him to take the reins and try to push.
You're saying Demko should take the starting job?
Well, he should try to prove it. Give him a few games. He's only gotten a few games since he's been up. Give him a bigger stretch. You don't know what you have until you play him.
Okay, well,
I get.
You look at the Canucks' mindset through the rest of the lineup.
I get.
When have they ever just given the guy an opportunity like that? Especially since, like, Markstrom's definitely around with this. Well, Markstrom's a legit starting goaltender. He's played great.
What about the situation that they had with Luongo and Schneider? They gave Schneider.
Okay. Well, you're getting ahead of it now, because that is a totally different situation. If you recall, Schneider was in the league a couple years before that really became a controversy. You know, this is just at a different point. We could be talking about this next year, as Markstrom's contract expires.
Right.
But as of now, I think you just kind of play it out. They have an idea of what they want to give Demko in terms of games played. You know, maybe it's 8 to 10 games, just to see if he's a viable option as a backup for next year.
Fair, and I get your point now, because now he's in a contract year. He's an RFA after the end of this year. So they're probably like, okay, well, maybe if we don't give him enough starts, that he won't want as much money. So it's probably going to be a bridge deal of, like we were talking earlier, was like $1.7 million for 1 year, which I understand. It's a good deal for both sides. So, yeah, you could be right. I just think that he should push Markstrom and should be able to get a lot more starts towards the trade deadline anyways, and see where they're at. So that way they can have an idea.
So, yeah, we're kind of Canuck fans if you didn't figure that out. But, hey, we like talking about the whole NHL. Braydon, what's the next team that we kind of want to touch on?
Well, I mean, being Canuck fans, I hate to say it, but we should talk about the Edmonton Oilers and their situation.
Being Canuck fans, what are you trying to insinuate? That we're a better team than them? That we're better built? We are.
Yeah.
Tell you what, we were talking about how Edmonton or the Canucks kind of build with the depth of their lineup, kind of veteran role players showing the way. Like, I have my example of Brock Boeser, how he kind of looks up to Roussel. Thing about Edmonton is they don't really have that. They don't have that top-to-down approach through their organization.
Well, I agree, and the thing is Lucic. Lucic is the big guy in that locker room for me.
Yeah.
Who should have made a big presence. He signed that massive contract. Granted, it was at a time where the NHL was still in that big guy era. It wasn't. Well, yeah, it was
the same year as the Louis Eriksson deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, the Canucks were in on that. Anybody would have made that mistake. But now you got to live with the mistakes. And the thing is what Edmonton hasn't had, that, teams with that high-end skill like Edmonton, be it Pittsburgh, they've drafted well, and they've had guys like that they could stream in their lineup on the wings. And Edmonton hasn't had that. I can't even remember the last time they've had a late-round pick hit for them.
No, I can't remember any time either. And the firing of Shielli is just massive news. And I think it was a long time coming. It should have happened earlier because he keeps making these impulse trades, like the Brandon Manning trade and the Petrovic trade. They're just impulse trades just to try to save his ass and just try to get into the playoffs. I think it was a wrong move to do, and he ultimately paid for it in the end. So I don't know. And looking at the trades that he made throughout his career in Edmonton, he completely kind of screwed the franchise. Like if you look at it, the first trade that he did was a first and second round pick for Griffin Reinhart. Yeah. Why would you give up 2 high picks for unproven defensemen where you could have gotten you're the guy that you wanted, and they ended up getting that guy that New York got from him was Matt Barzal.
Yeah, well, hey, anybody could say that. Oh, yeah, well, you traded what would they have drafted if they would have not traded that player? They would have got Barzal. But here's the thing: they saw a guy like Seth Jones that was traded for Johansson, and they thought, hey, listen, those two got traded for each other. Maybe this is our Seth Jones. This is the way we get that D-man, is if we trade for him. You know, obviously the potentials were off at the time of that Seth Jones trade too, but it worked out for both teams, notably Columbus. That's kind of how Edmonton saw it. Obviously, you know, it was poor judgment.
Very.
You know, Griffin Reinhart was, you know, not even close to an NHL. I even think the year they traded for him, he didn't even have a good year in the A.
No, and he gave up I get a first, okay? I get it, because he was a first-round pick anyways. But giving up the second as well, I think they paid way too much of a steep price for a guy who was very unproven. Chiarelli just made these deals that just didn't make sense. He didn't really have the composure or, I don't know, like the willpower to do anything being in Edmonton like he did in Boston.
And it was funny you mentioned that because I think that's huge. I think that Edmonton, you know, it's an old boys club, right? It's the owner and some ex-NHLers that kind of run the front office there. There's too many voices in the room. You know, they've drafted guys in the late rounds just because they were kids of former NHLers.
Yeah.
Like, this is a team that there's a lot of issues because of their past. And they really glorify their past. And, you know, we can get into that, but I'm sick and tired of talking about Edmonton.
I know, but I feel like there's another issue that had to be brought up here was that apparently McDavid...
Sorry, Edmonton.
Apparently McDavid was talking to his team, and he said that, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that if you don't want to be part of the solution or you don't want to be here, then just get out of the locker room.
Yeah.
For me hearing that, I can't picture myself McDavid being that guy to say that. I don't know why. I might get some hate for saying that, but I can't see McDavid like getting aggressive with his teammates and be like, if you don't want to be out here, if you don't want to be here, get out of the locker room right now. That's how he should have. I feel like that's how it should have been, and I don't know if it was or not. I'm not in the locker room.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he's that guy who would actually mean the words that he's saying.
Well, here's the thing. He signed to an 8-year deal. He's stuck with this team. And he might be regretting that deal now, but he basically just wants this team to move forward. And, you know, maybe he thinks there's some setbacks from guys in that locker room for this season. I personally just think they're not deep enough team. I think there could be other issues, but, you know, to me, his quotes are kind of besides the point, besides the issue.
Well, it's things that he had to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there could be guys that don't want to be there, whatever. I mean, it's Edmonton. They don't have depth scoring. They got Leon Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and McDavid, and that's it.
Pretty much. It's like,
and a couple top 4D.
It's like a cursed franchise at this point. Like
Yeah.
you go there and it's like your career is on the verge of falling.
And that's why the next hire they make for this GM is huge.
Oh yeah, it has to be a guy who's experienced. They can't bring in a new guy and try to take the reins on this team.
Yep.
This team, they keep saying that they're a playoff team, and right now they're not playing like one, and they won't be one.
And you know what I never understand is when front offices say, like the CEO of the Oilers there, he was saying that we need a guy that will come in and will have open doors, right? And to me that was kind of like, well, isn't that what you guys have been doing for years? Like, you've been listening to too many people. And I almost think that you need the opposite. You need a GM that comes in and closes the vault and says, hey, listen, I'm making the decisions here.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to go. Email me your suggestions, but this is how I'm running the franchise.
No, I agree. That's exactly how it should be for that franchise. I get you have big names in there like Wayne Gretzky and all those other big guys. You need somebody who's going to block everybody off and make what they feel is the right decision for this franchise. And we'll see what happens, but that's what needs to be done.
Yeah, if they're gonna make the playoffs, that definitely needs to happen.
Yeah.
So hey, we want to talk about the Eller Marchand incident. It kind of sparked some debate among us and got us a little fired up. Here on Dirty Dangles, we get real fired up.
Fired.
So this started a game against Washington, first game of the year actually. So Eller celebrated a 7th goal in a 7-0 game, and he kind of mocked the bench. And would you say that Marchand jumped him?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so Marchand just jumped him and started swinging at him. And Eller really didn't have a chance to get set. He didn't really want to engage. He sort of dropped his gloves.
Yeah, but he just completely got sucker punched.
Yeah.
In that. It was just brutal. It was cowardly what he did. He came from behind, didn't even see him. Or no, he saw him, but no, Eller didn't see him. But it was just such a cowardly move for him to do something. I get it.
It was cowardly. And fast forward January 10th. Now, Eller's character definitely took a hit with that, right? And people were like saying, hey, he shouldn't have mocked after a 7-0 lead and all that. So Eller went up to Marchand and he said, hey, I want to drop the gloves with you. And he dropped his gloves and he was pulling on his jersey, trying to get him to go. And Marchand just,
completely turtled.
He turtled. He didn't want to fight him.
No, and that's, again, cowardly. It's hypocritical. Marchand made a fool out of himself and he made a fool out of Eller. It's not right, but you know what? Looking at the video, I feel like Eller should have at least given him a sucker punch back. The ref's already going to give him a penalty for dropping the gloves, so why not make it worth it?
Yeah, I never understand that in the NHL. Like, listen, like, refs know, like, there's all this footage, like, they know who, like, the scumbags are, right? Like,
Exactly.
just soccer them.
Yeah. I mean, he
Professional advice from Dirty Dangles. Just soccer him. Hey, but this guy straight up licks people. Like, he licked a guy from his chin to his nose. YouTube it. This guy licked Callahan. He's a mess.
It's disrespectful, honestly. The thing that bugs me is that he's a good player, but it's just how he does things and how he portrays himself is just. It's so disrespectful to the league, and it's actually disrespectful to Boston, even though they're known to be that team. I don't know.
I mean, Boston's a bunch of scumbags, but yeah.
I don't know. I like Bergeron. I'm a big fan of Bergeron.
Yeah, because he's on your fantasy team.
You betcha, bud.
Whatever. So, Braydon, now we got a final segment that we like to call Name That Hockey Guy. Let's break down for the users what that is.
All right, so for Name That Hockey Guy, Paul and I will come up with a few guys from hockey. Could either be playing now or it could have been playing from the past. And you guys just have to guess who they are. We're going to give you some hints. And yeah, feel free to pause and take a guess for yourself if you want to think about it. But Paul and I will be, guessing which
Name
guy.
that hockey guy.
Exactly, who that hockey guy really is.
All right, Brandon, I'm going to go first here.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Hint number 1. He's an Aboriginal player from Quebec. First Nations, very renowned First Nations hockey guy from Quebec.
Go another hint?
You want another one?
Yeah.
All right. He led the Vancouver Canucks in penalty minutes, and he still stands as the all-time leader.
See, you know what? I think I know who it is now.
Okay.
My first guess when you said Northern Quebec, I was like, but no, he's from actually Nunavut, was Jordan Tutu.
Yep.
So I knew that couldn't be it. So the guy that I'm thinking of right now, I mean, you know what? For the Danglers, maybe just give one more hint.
Okay.
One more.
Well, that was kind of my last hint. I guess I could note that he just recovered from, he covered a few years ago from a terminal heart disease.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's your guess?
So for my guess, is going to have to be Jarkko Ruutu.
No.
Really?
No. Wait, guess again.
Oh man,
You thought for sure.
I
Come on,
thought I
leader
had that in the
penalty minutes.
bag.
Okay, I'll give you another hint, Brandon.
All right.
You got to look back a little bit before the year 2000.
Oh man, my hockey knowledge isn't that great from back then.
I mean, my dad told me about this guy, so that's kind of how I know some of these old time guys. Shout out my daddy.
I don't know.
Okay, here's hint number 4 or 5.
Man, I'm just tanking this already.
Nickname, Evgeny Malkin.
What?
Evgeny Malkin.
I have no idea who this person is.
Gino.
Gino Olczyk.
Ojic. You got it.
Potato, potato.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had a terminal heart disease.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Big time. Like doctors pretty much thought like he wasn't gonna survive, and he made it out of it. And he was actually honored at a game, I think like a week ago, and it was awesome to see. The fans cheered him, and it was great, and kind of inspired me to name that hockey guy.
Huh? I didn't. Yeah, that completely threw me off. I tanked that right away.
I want to hear what you got now.
All right. So for my first guy, he was drafted in the 5th round, 151st overall, in the 2001 entry draft. If you guys are pretty good at that, you should be able to get it.
Okay.
All right. He has only played for 2 teams in the NHL.
Okay.
Recently is not playing. He's not playing anymore as of right now. And for your last hint, so what happened was he actually got into a fight in June before anything really happened with his career. He got into a fight with Fedorov outside of a bar.
Yep. And
Name that hockey guy.
I know who this is. Kevin Bieksa.
You bet.
And what he did with Fedorov is this was kind of like you were gonna say?
No. Go ahead.
Fedorov is this Russian player that was kind of very cocky, and he was disrespectful to older players. And Bieksa was brand new to camp, and Fedorov wanted to kind of fight him. He took his shirt off, and then Kevin Bieksa went out there and one-punched him.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
Man, he's such a beast of a player too, or was a beast of a player. Hopefully he comes back, because he's one of the greatest guys, great character guys.
My name that hockey guy, drafted 6th overall in 2011.
Oh my God, I suck at these kind of things.
Yeah. All right, second hint. He is a DJ.
A DJ?
Yep, he's a DJ.
I don't know. Who? Keep going.
Okay, I got another one for you. He was traded from Ottawa.
To who?
Come on, Brandon, you got this.
Traded from Ottawa?
Yeah. All right. The last hint. He's a centerman for the New York Rangers.
Oh.
Righty.
I know who this is. Mika Zibanejad.
Yup, Mika Zibanejad.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, he's a DJ. I think he goes by like DJ Zbad. And he's a Swedish Iranian hockey player.
Huh.
Nice combo.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so for my second guy, so right now he is currently a broadcaster and an analyst on Sportsnet. Okay. He is from New Brunswick. Or no, sorry, Nova Scotia. I believe. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm not wrong about this.
We're never wrong here at Dirty Dangles.
I
still don't know who it is, though.
Yeah, because I could be giving you false
it's
hints.
right. All right, Brent. What's hint number 3?
Okay, he was the GM for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh.
At the beginning of their team. Can you name that hockey guy?
I'll give the viewers another hint. He was also an assistant GM for Detroit.
Yeah, that is correct.
Cup runs.
That is correct. And you're kind of showing me up right now.
And that's Doug McLean.
You bet. And that you kind of showed me up there. But you know
that's how
what?
it goes here at Dirty Dangles.
All right.
Listen, here's what happens. I'm a lefty. I'm the playmaker. Braydon's just got to put his stick on the ice and go to the net.
Pretty much.
Right? That's how we do things here at Dirty Dangles.
All right. But anyways, we're going to leave it at that for now. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the very first episode of and what should be many of the Dirty Dangles podcast. We want to give a quick shout out to our producer, Amir Dahuja.
It's your boy.
You can catch him at on Instagram and on Twitter at Ahuja Music. He actually produced our theme song or soundtrack, and it sounds amazing. Definitely give him a follow if you can. We'd also want to hear what you guys have to say about us. So if you want to tweet us at Dirty Dangles HP, and you can also catch us on YouTube at and Spotify at Dirty Dangles Hockey Podcast. You can also catch us on Instagram and Facebook. Our Instagram handle is Dirty Dangles HP, and Facebook is Dirty Dangles Hockey Podcast.
Yeah, and we just want to hear from you guys. Message us what you want us to change, what you want us to keep. Any questions for us for our listener segment that we're going to do hopefully next week. So stay tuned and tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we really appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Until next time,
Dirty
Dangles.